It's the first thing you're going to tie on. The tail is the most important part, because if you get the tail on right and the right length, that's going to determine everything else on the fly. You won't get the legs too long or too short. It'll all come in at exactly the right size. So, let's start off by pulling some hairs straight out, from the rachis is what it's called, and then pull them off firmly. Now, for the length of the tail, it should be the same as the gap of the hook. So, the length of the tail is the same as the gap of the hook. Take two, make sure that it looks pretty close to the same there for you. Take your time getting that tail. And something I'm going to say a dozen times while we're tying this fly is stay away from the head. Because if you get too close to the head, you will not be able to put the legs on this fly. Okay. Wire. Let me cut a little off here. Okay, that tail is going to help determine the thorax and the legs of the fly and how long they're going to be and how they're going to act. A trick with wire is put it in underneath and then gently, what is called a soft turn. Take a soft turn, they say. And come back, and each time I come back to right where the hook starts to bend. All right. Now, the body. Pull the feathers straight out again. And hold tight when you do that, otherwise it will come apart. Now I'm tying this in tips first, and I'm just tying it about 2/3 of the body. Going back again to the bend of the hook. And now the body of this fly is going to be about that long, just a little under 2/3. Okay. Now, my old hands shake, so I use hackle pliers. And I turn, I turn it about 4 turns.
Why do you want to turn it?
Well, it gives you ribbing, but it also keeps you in control of the fly. Let me get this again. Sometimes it'll come loose, just grab it again. You know what? This one's going to fight me, so I'm going to just do it the hard way.
I'm glad to see that happens to you too.
Oh, it happens every time. And my hands shake. They have since I was a little kid. All right. Take a few wraps there to make sure it's solid. Now, I get asked a lot, I wrapped the feather on this way. Do I wrap the wire the opposite direction, or do I wrap it in the same direction? It depends on what you want to do. Both ways are right. If you wrap in the same direction that you wrap the feather on, it's more likely to sit down inside the body and not be as prominent. If you wrap the opposite direction, it will sit on top of the body and be more prominent. For me, I don't worry too much about it. I'm going to go the same direction. And don't worry if you miss a step. We're going to do this all over again when you're back at your vices. Okay. Again, I'm going back and forth, but you'll notice I stay away from the head of the hook, from the eye of the hook. Stay back there a little ways, and at the end of this, you'll see why. All right? Now, take another set of the feathers, not quite so many, straight out.
You're emphasizing straight out. Is there a reason why instead of cutting it off?
Right. All of the tips will be even if you pull them straight out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then pull that off. All right, now, the reason the tail is so important is this is going to be your thorax, but it's also going to be the legs on the fly. So how do you measure that? Well, as it turns out, if you've got the tail on right, and you put this feather on the same length as the tail, and by the way, stay away from the head. If you put that on the same length as the tail, what's going to happen is you'll have enough to pull it over and create a thorax and pull them back and create perfect length legs. That's a tongue twister. All right. Now the thorax is made up of peacock herl. Depending on the size of the fly, you'll want 2, 3, or 4 good-sized peacock herl. And you're going to get a little preview of my upcoming class on material handling, because I always reinforce my peacock herl because the stuff breaks so easily. And some of you will get frustrated with that today, that it will break easily on you. So what I do is these tips aren't totally together, so just cut it off. I'm going to put it on the side, wrap a soft wrap over it to get it locked in. Okay, now you could try wrapping these on, and you might break 1 or 2 of them, or all of them, and have to start over. But if you take a loop and just hold that loop and gently hold the peacock herl together, now I'm going to take a shepherd's hook and spin this real fast, but you can spin it slowly with your hands. You now have a thread with the peacock herl around it, and that thread, let me get this out of the way. that thread is reinforced, and since it's 70 denier thread, I know that I've got an extra 1 pound of strength in those feathers, and I don't have to worry about breaking them. Just wrap several times. Until that thorax is larger than the body. Doesn't have to be a lot larger. There are a lot of mayflies that the thorax is not that much larger than the body on. Okay, remember I said stay away from the head? Here's where it's okay not to. Pull this over with your right hand, go over it a couple times, and I'm up at the head now, and I'm backing off of the head. So what's going to happen is I'm going to push that back with my thumb, then pull it down, kind of guide half of them to one side and half of them to the other side, and all of a sudden, there's your legs. Except I only got one leg on that side. You get a couple of them going there.
Yeah, if you try to tie those individually on or on each side, for me, it's frustration city, so.
Well, I've actually,
Yeah, I do.
I actually have seen a video out on YouTube where the tyer didn't use the tail length trick, got these way too long, and actually cut them off with scissors. And it just looks blunt. It looks bad. In fact, I have one here to show you that one. The feathers have been tied off, or cut off.
Oh, yeah.
See how blunt it looks? How unreal it looks? And by the way, that is the size to tie this fly.
These are deadly
I tie these
flies.
larger.
They catch fish all over.
I tie these larger so you can see what I'm doing.
But normally, what size hook do you
Normally, I would tie them on a size 16 hook.
We're learning.
And is
Yeah.
that a dry hook?
It is a nymph and streamer hook, 2x long. Yeah, and the thing is, if you only go with 1x long, your legs are going to be a little longer because your tail and the body length is different. So 2x long is what you want. Yeah. All right, now, some of you may have noticed that there's a little flash on the back of this one. This is a flashback pheasant tail. It is no harder to tie than the regular